G'day folks, Ron Bishop here, Timaru, New Zealand. Thanks for watching me. Thanks for following me on YouTube. You know, I remember years ago, I used to be I was the manager of a major finance company in New Zealand, and I was branch manager in Timaru. The company was called Broadlands Finance, and became Broadbank, and now finished up getting sold to the bank in New Zealand. But anyway, I was a big shot in town. In the 1976, I first came to Timaru, and I took an interest in the Timaru Herald, and I used to write letters to the Timaru Herald. I was on the Chamber of Commerce. I was the chairman of the small business group in the Chamber of Commerce, and I was a big shot in town, and people walk down the street and say, oh, there's Ron Bishop, he's the general manager or the branch manager of Broadlands Finance, the biggest finance company in New Zealand, you know, and I thought I was pretty good, you see. But anyway, my whole world fell around me when I had a mental breakdown. Finished up in Kensington in the hospital. Yeah, it wasn't very nice, and I got the sack. I got the sack from Broadlands Finance in the finish because they didn't want to employ someone that had a mental breakdown. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I was diagnosed at the time with having bipolar disorder. If you know what bipolar disorder is, it's where you get too excited and then you get depressed. And a lot of people that have bipolar disorder commit suicide. And I got very depressed. I wanted to commit suicide. Yeah. So anyway, to cut a long story short, I want to talk about the Timaru Herald because it's the Timaru Herald's birthday tomorrow. They'll be 150 years tomorrow since they've printed the first letter, printed the first newspaper. And I used to write a lot of letters to the Timaru Herald. I came to Timaru in about 1976, and I used to write letters to the Timaru Herald on a regular basis. And they were very popular letters because I wrote them about controversial things. And I baited people, you see, and I would make a statement about something, and then I'd provide an answer. Whenever I criticised someone or something, I would always provide an answer. And people would come on, write other letters and criticise me and stuff like that. It was good. In those days, Dave Wood was the editor, bloody good bloke, and him and I had a few run-ins, but we understood each other, you know. And they were the good old days. But the Timaru Herald has changed since then. It's got a new editor now. Peter O'Neill is the current editor. Had a bloke called David King before that. But I've had a falling out with David King and David, what's his name? Peter O'Neill. The buggers won't even talk to me. Yeah, they won't print my letters and they won't even talk to me. And of course, I walk down the street today and people say, Ron, where's all your letters to the Timaru Herald? Because they used to love my letters, you know, because I'd get the town going. I stood for mayor once, did I tell you that? Yeah, I stood for mayor. Twice I stood for mayor. I didn't want to be the mayor. I just wanted to get rid of Janie Anea because she was sidling up to the Timaru Herald. Janie Anea and the Timaru Herald were an item. Whatever Janie Anea wanted to say, she was on the front page of the Timaru Herald saying something. But there was Ron Bishop in the background nibbling away, so they had to get rid of me. So the only way they get rid of me is stop printing my letters. The first time I upset the Timaru Herald is when I started a newspaper in competition. I started a newspaper called Photo News. My son Gus, you probably know him, he's got the steam on out there at Pleasant Point. He was the editor. He was a photographer for the Timaru Herald because Gus was a very good photographer, and he was a photographer with the Timaru Herald. And Gus came to me once and he said, Dad, I'm not getting anywhere with the Timaru Herald. They're paying me lousy money and I don't like the job. And I said, well, I just had the sack from Broadlands Finance. I've got another hell of a lot to do. Why don't we start our own newspaper? So we started a newspaper. We knew nothing about newspapers, but we started this newspaper called Photo News. And Gus used to take the photos. You see, he'd go around the district and he'd take all the photos. And I would sell the advertising. I'd go out and I'd sell the advertising. And my daughter Sharon, she was doing the administration. We sold a few photographs and stuff like that. But we were in opposition to the Timaru Herald, and they didn't like it. Boy, they didn't like it. We didn't make it. We didn't get. Well, I think we did about 11 issues of photo news, but we couldn't keep up with the advertising. It got too big, but it was a great experience. But anyway, the Timaru Herald didn't like us because we were taking all their business. Now, another time I fell out with the Timaru Herald. Just a minute. I don't know whether you know it or not, but I was a world champion indoor rower. I used to go to all the indoor rowing meetings, New Zealand Masters games and stuff, and I was a pretty good indoor rower. Held a few New Zealand records and stuff like that, and won a lot of gold medals and stuff like that. But anyway, you see, I decided one day, I'd run out of challenges, and I decided one day to row 100,000 metres in a day, you see. And I got a few blokes together, and they were in the gym. We were at the performance training company gym, and got all these people excited about we're going to row 100,000 metres in a day, and everyone was going to do it, you see. And we had meetings and stuff like that. And I used to go training because I thought 100,000 metres in a day on a indoor rowing machine, that's about 9 hours work. And you had to train really hard. So I was training really hard. But I went along one morning to training, and in come the John Bissett. He's the photographer of the Timaru Herald. He wanted to take my photo, and I said, "What are you taking my photo for?" He said, "Because you're going for this world record," he said, for rowing 100,000 metres. And I said, "Well, you're not taking my photo because the other blokes that are supposed to be doing with me are not training. And it's going to fail. It'll fail if the other people won't train. I haven't got a story. You can't take my photo." And then another fellow by the name of Paul O'Rourke, he was the head chief reporter, and he come walking in, wanted to write the story, and I told him to go away too. So I upset the Herald. I upset them because I didn't give them a story. They wanted a story. They wanted to take my photo. They wanted to take the story, but I wouldn't let them because the people, my mates that were supposed to be training with me weren't training, and we were going to fail. So I got offside with them, and they didn't like it because they didn't have a story. Another time I got offside with the Herald is when I employed a lady and had to sack her because I found she was dishonest, and she took a court case out against me. She took a personal grievance claim against me for sacking her, you see. And I fought the thing by myself. I didn't have a lawyer or anything like that. I just fought it, and it took, bloody hell, about 5 years out of my life. It was hard work. But anyway, this woman got up in court and said that Ron Bishop has bipolar disorder, you see. This is in court. And the bloody Timaru Herald reported it. And they put it in the newspaper. So you wake up in the morning and here's the headline about Ron Bishop's court case. And Ron Bishop has a mental illness called bipolar disorder. And I was angry about that. I thought, how the hell can they do that? This is my private life. This is my private health. And here's the Timaru Herald telling everybody that Ron Bishop has a mental illness. Okay? And it cost me a lot of money, cost me a lot of time. People started avoiding me because I was supposed to have been this guy with a mental illness, you see. So when the finish, I came out and I admitted it. I said, yes, I've been diagnosed with my bipolar disorder, but it's manageable now. I know how to manage it. I'm on the right medication, and there's nothing wrong with me, you see. But anyway, I've always done that. Just a minute. Anyway, I threatened to sue the Timaru Herald, you see, because I didn't think they could print stuff like that about your personal life, you know, medical stuff, you know. And I threatened to sue them. And ever since then, they've been wary of me. And they won't print my letters. They started stopping printing my letters. Janie and Ea got very pally with them. And I used to give her a hard time because I didn't like the things she was doing. I didn't like her trips overseas and stuff like that. And I used to criticize her. And of course, she went to the Timaru Herald, and the Timaru Herald took sides with her, you see. And they wouldn't print my letters. So, but I still walk down the street today and people say, Ron, where's your letters? Where's your letters to the Timaru Herald? Well, I haven't got time to sit around and write letters to the Timaru Herald if they're not going to print them. And now I'm doing videos, right? So this morning I wrote a letter to the Timaru Herald and then I threw it in the bloody rubbish and I thought, what a waste of time. Why do that? I'll just do my videos, right? Because these videos are more powerful. They go all around the world and there's a bigger market for me worldwide than there is in Timaru, okay? You know, one of my major goals in life is to promote Timaru. And I can't promote Timaru if I haven't got a platform to speak from. These videos are good. I can do them every day and I can do a video every day and they get out amongst the people. But the Timaru Herald won't print my stuff. They just stay right clear of Ron Bishop. I can go down to the Timaru Herald today and walk in there and ask to see someone from the editorial staff, and guess what? No one will come and see me. They've got a policy where they just ignore me. Okay? But that's their problem. Tomorrow is the 11th of June, and I'm going down there. All the public have been invited to a barbecue for a sausage sizzle or something tomorrow, and I'm going down there and I'm going to take my camera and I'm going to video them and I'm going to ask them questions, and I might say to them, why don't you print my letters anymore, right? And get them all embarrassed. No, I wouldn't do that, but I might get down there. I'll take my camera down and we'll have a bit of fun, because we don't want to lose the Timaru Herald. It's a bloody good newspaper. It's just being ruined by an editor at the moment that sort of wants to take it over and he does all the spieling. He's on there every day saying stuff when it should be the people, it should be the readers that are writing the letters to the editor, not him. Okay, but anyway, we'll sort it out. It'll get sorted. No problem at all. Just leave it Ronnie be. I'll put this up now. Mum's got lunch for me. I better go. Mum's calling out for lunch. I got soup for lunch and I got to go and eat it. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Tune in tomorrow. I'll be talking about something else. I'll be down at the Timaru Herald taking videos and stuff, and we'll promote the Timaru Herald because it's a good newspaper. Just got a few bad apples in the box. That's all. Okay, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.